Welcome in, everyone. It is Fran with Into the Marvelous Light. Today, I want to talk about how narcissists uses their cruel words to pretty much tear you down instead of build you up. In this particular video, I'm going to talk about some of the cruel statements that were said to me over the life of my 14-year marriage to a covert narcissist and give you some feelings that I have about the words that were said and also let you know how I was able to overcome those hurtful words. So first, I want to let you know what the word edify means. And to edify is to instruct and improve, especially in moral and religious knowledge, to uplift, to enlighten, to inform, to build, and to establish. So those are definitely not any positive words that are going to be associated with the narcissist, but at least we know what we should be looking for, um, you know, in a friend, in a family member, in a relationship, in a marriage. We're looking for someone to build us up, not tear us down. So originally, I was going to file for divorce on the grounds of cruel and cruel and inhumane punishment. That was going to be the grounds, since I was going to have to go to court to fight with the narcissist on those grounds. And I had a lawyer who, asked me to give him all of my proof of said treatment. And so the lawyer basically told me to write out an entire list of, cruel and inhumane things that the narcissist said to me and that he actually did to me. So I'm going to start with the list of cruel things that he actually said. Now, I didn't get a chance to actually use this in court. The narcissist didn't want to go to court, didn't want to fight. So we ended up changing the grounds of the divorce to irreconcilable differences. And so that's how I was able to get out of the marriage, by changing the grounds of the divorce. Remember that narcissists care very much about their image. So he definitely didn't want to try to fight me on cruel and inhumane, because to the outside world, he is just a perfect gentleman. He knows how to treat a lady and all those things. The nicest guy on earth to the outside world. And so he didn't want to have to, face those demons in court. So I'm going to go and try to get through the list as best I can. Then I'll be making some comments on, the statement and remembering back on what was said and how I was feeling. First thing on the list. Well, somebody needs to control your dumb A. This is a direct quote from the narcissist. And this is something that he said in response to me telling him that I felt like he was controlling, that he was overbearing, he was like a bulldozer. Those statements, when I try to tell him how I felt, then that would be his response. Like, basically, you're so dumb, that you need to be controlled. And he felt like all women were dumb, not just me, but basically he would say it over and over. He was smarter than the average person. He was smarter than most people. In his mind, that's how he felt. Like he was the smartest and everybody else was dumb. Whew, this is a hard one to say. I'm being totally transparent here, but this is on the list. I'll have to come back to this. I can't say it right now. Here's one. It's your fault if you can't handle someone spitting on you. And this is what he said to me a couple of weeks after he spit in my face. And I'll have to get into that in another video. Look at our son. He is all me. I could have had him with anybody. Now that one ripped my heart out. That one ripped me to pieces. For him to say that. Basically, he explained it himself. The child he felt looks entirely like him, and he didn't see me anywhere in the child. So basically, I was dispensable and replaceable. Like if he had another child with someone else, that child would end up looking like him too. So basically, there's no need for a woman. It's all about him. At least the ghetto girl knows how to be down for me. Now, this is something that he said to me after I saw him while we're married. I saw him in some girl's face. I saw him in several girls' faces, but the thing is, he told me that he doesn't like a type of girl. And he told me that he doesn't want me to be like a certain type of girl. So anytime I would try to like stand up for myself or talk back to him, you know, when he was getting on to me, he would accuse me of being a ghetto girl. This is just for saying anything back to him. And he was like, if you want to be with me, you can't be a ghetto girl. That's what he would always say. But those are the type of girls' faces that I will always catch him in. If we were out and about, let's say we were at a store and there's a cashier, she would fit the stereotype of what he called a ghetto girl. But he would tell me that I couldn't be like that. So if she was talkative, I was, you know, because I was very quiet, I didn't say a lot because of his behavior and because of my own self, also how I was raised, my childhood. I was told to shut up all the time. So really didn't like to talk, or really didn't talk. But then when I tried to talk, he would accuse me of, okay, now you're being ghetto. Take those pants off. You are not wearing pants to church. You can't wear shirts with words across the chest because it draws attention to yourself. Now, I am very conservative. I don't, you know, dress in a way that shows off body parts, and he knew that. But, you know, with being quiet, I did like to express myself. I was very much into the arts. And so I loved graphic t shirts. I would get a shirt that says Dr. Pepper across it, but it wouldn't be a tight t shirt or anything like that. It wouldn't be like a split cut in the shirt where you can see cleavage. I didn't do any of that, but it would just be a simple shirt that said, you know, Dr. Pepper or Superwoman or something like that across the shirt because I was very into the arts. And that was one way that I like to express myself. And he was like, absolutely not. You're not going to the grocery store in that shirt because some guy is going to see it and then he's going to come talk to you. And it didn't make sense to me. It was basically like he was chipping away at who I was. Like he didn't want me to be myself. He wanted me to be his creation, what he wanted me to be. Your mama is a bee. That one hurt. That one hurt quite a bit. You're going to end up lonely just like your lonely A friends. This is something he would say to me when I would try to ask him to please stay home instead of going out and staying out late all night and coming in the wee hours of the morning. He would say, because I was nagging him, that I'm going to end up being lonely, like my friends who were single at the time. But you can be single and married at the same time. You can be lonely and married at the same time, which I definitely was. You know, with him staying out late as he did, I barely saw him. You think you too good to call me and ask me to come home at night. Now, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up to be a wife that has to make a phone call and say, hey, can I special order my husband to be at home tonight? I didn't think that that's how it worked. I thought we got married so that we could be together, so that we could spend time with each other. That is weak stuff that you're talking. And I'm saying stuff that he said another S word. Of course, I'm going to use you. Everybody gets used. Now, this is something that he said in response to me feeling like, you know, he didn't want to work. He didn't want to hold down the job. I felt like I'm paying all the bills. And that's what he had to say about that. It was like, you're here to be used. And then he followed up with this statement. You are the wife. You are here more so for me. So basically he felt like you know, that was my purpose. My purpose was to serve him and serve him only, and to be used. And that's why I was here in his mind. If you didn't want to put up with me, you shouldn't have married me. Now that one hurt too, because I didn't sign up for the guy I actually got. You pretended to be this nice, clean-cut guy. We were both baptized at the age of 12, and I thought it was so cute that we both had our certificates of baptism at age 12, but that wasn't enough. That didn't mean anything. He didn't have the love of Christ in his heart, and so he wasn't able to treat me very well at all. Now, this is something that he said to me because things got so bad that I got depressed, like, staying out late, the gambling and all this stuff. This is something that he said when I told him, I think I need to go talk to somebody. He says, I don't want my wife closed up in a room talking to another man about her feelings. I don't care if he's a psychologist. So I wasn't even allowed to go see a doctor to even deal with some of the things that I was dealing with in this marriage. Here's one that's kind of tough to say. If you thought I was cheating on you with another woman, when I came home, you would be jumping on my D word as soon as I got here. That's just not something to say to your wife. And it shouldn't be reduced down to just that. I want quality time. I want communication. I want bonding. It shouldn't just be about the statement that you just said. There is no point that you have to go back to the past to bring up old stuff. Basically, I wasn't allowed to talk about anything in the past, and the past for him was even something that happened yesterday, something that happened an hour ago, 3 hours ago. It was considered the past for him. So I wasn't allowed or to bring it up. And if I did bring it up, it was going to be consequences for bringing it up. If you're going to talk all hard to me, you deserve to get your A beat. And so this is something that he said to me as a result of me trying to stand up for myself, trying to say how I felt about an issue. He felt like if I did that, like if I stood up to him, then that means that I deserve to have him punch me and hit me and do all those things like that. This one really hurts. I don't need a divorce to move on. You do. And he meant that. It was very, very true for him. He didn't care about the fact that we were married. If he wanted to go see another woman, he would do that. If he wanted to cheat, he would do that. He absolutely meant what he said. He said multiple times that, marriage is just a piece of paper. The ring is just a piece of metal. So he really didn't take our marriage seriously at all. So I'm going to go back up to the top of the page to say the one that I was having a difficult time to say earlier. And it's still difficult for me to get out, and I'm going to try to do this the best I can. This is something that he said to me if he felt like, I looked too nice to go to church. Like he didn't like for me to get really, really dressed up to go to church. This is something he said to me when I came home from church. Now, after refusing to go with me, I invited him to go to church with me all the time, and I couldn't get him to go. So I spent all of the 14 years of marriage going to church by myself. When I came home from church, he said, you've been at church I apologize if this is too graphic, too vulgar of a statement, but I'm trying to share just the magnitude of some of the stuff that narcissists can say, how heinous it can be. And I apologize that it's taken me so long to get this out, but it's really tough to go back and read. He said, "You've been at church sucking Deacon D." And I'll leave it at that. But it was hurtful to hear after the fact, after I begged you to come to church with me, like Sunday after Sunday. I begged you to come and you wouldn't come. And it's kind of like, I feel like he said this to me to get me to stop going to church. But I never did. I kept going. Which is very hurtful. Something else that he said, "As much as you accuse me of cheating, I should go ahead and do it. At least I would get some type of enjoyment out of it." So I find out later this wasn't just accusation. I actually have proof that he was unfaithful. But these are the type of things he would say to basically make you stop bringing it up, make you stop talking about it, deter you from talking about it in the future. Stop trying to prove something. You are not strong and you are not hard. Like I said, he basically wanted me to be weak and subservient to him. He had this belief about all women. All women are weak, that we're not strong, we're not tough in any way. You got yourself into this mortgage. That one hurt too. First of all, he was a compulsive gambler. So there was not, a lot of money coming in from his end. He did a lot of squandering. He was very irresponsible when it came to bills. He didn't really like to hold down a job. So to say that to me after I expressed to you that I don't want to raise my son, our son, in a tiny one-bedroom apartment. I would like for him to have some space to run around. I would like a backyard for him. I would like for him to have his own room. That is something that he said to me. You got yourself in this mortgage. That's something that he said to me when I would go to him and ask him to please help with bills. Like, don't leave me to pay them on my own. I'm not here living on my own. Like, don't do that. And that's what he would say. Basically to get me, as he felt, like off his back. Like, don't nag him. Don't ask for him to do anything. Nobody gives an F about what you think. Shut the F up. That hurts too because I'm not a talker. I barely talk. I don't talk unless, I have something really important to say. And so the few times that I do talk, you say that to me. It's just like, I don't matter. It's the same messaging I got in childhood when I was told to shut up. It's just like, what you have to say does not matter. And I got that same messaging and reinforcement from my spouse later in life. And the last thing that's on this list that I want to mention is, I ought to beat your A right now. Like I said, being looked at as subservient, beneath him. I don't consider that to be submission. Like, you ought to beat my A, so that's why I'm going to do what you tell me to do. It shouldn't be like that. God gives us free will, so there's no way a spouse should be talking to another spouse in that way. But like I said, narcissists don't build up. They don't edify. They don't love you. So they can't show love. They can't show something that they don't have internally. When you learn what you should be hearing and accepting from people, what is good and acceptable speech, then you'll learn what you should not accept. And Ephesians 4:29 is just perfect for explaining it to us. It says, "Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers." So that's the kind of speech we should be hearing, and that's the kind of speech we should be accepting of others. And if it's anything opposite of that, we need to rebuke it, reject it, and get away from it. Romans 14:19, "Let us therefore make every effort to do what leads to peace and to mutual edification." We really should be building each other up, not tearing each other down. Proverbs 27:17, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." So this isn't cutting each other. This is making each other better. And there is a difference. You're not cutting the person with your words. You are instructing them so that you can make them better. Ephesians 4:31, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice." The Bible clearly tells us what not should be said, what should not be said. And here's the scripture that I will leave to you. These are the things that you should say to yourself, remind yourself of, and the things to look for in other people when they speak to you. Philippians 4:8. "Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things." Walk in the light. Walk in the marvelous light.